Hello, this week we're looking at number 12 in our series on Deuteronomy. This is entitled Deuteronomy in the New Testament, and it particularly is focusing on Jesus' use of Deuteronomy. We remember that Jesus, in response to the devil's temptations there in the desert, used Deuteronomy to respond, and clearly that was a very significant book in Jesus' eyes. In fact, of all the books of the Old Testament, Jesus quoted from Deuteronomy the most. There's a great quote, it's there in the notes for this time, from Mark Futato. Deuteronomy is clearly one of the most important books in the Old Testament. First, Jesus quoted the book of Deuteronomy more than any other book in the Old Testament. Second, Jesus used the book of Deuteronomy in his own life more than any other book in the Old Testament. For example, Jesus answered all three of his temptations in the wilderness with quotations from the book of Deuteronomy, Luke 4, 1-13. Since the person of Jesus is at the very heart of the gospel, and Deuteronomy was so important in his life, it should therefore not be hard to find the gospel in this last book of Moses' Pentateuch. And there you have it. There you have our lesson for today summed up. You can go through all the different quotes and the various uses of Deuteronomy, not just by Jesus, but in Acts 10, quotes Deuteronomy 10. Paul speaks about the book of the law, presumably Deuteronomy, in Galatians 3:10, and then references Deuteronomy 27. In Galatians 3:13, he references Deuteronomy 21, and Luke quotes Deuteronomy 18:18, and applies the prophecy to Jesus. And two verses from Deuteronomy 32 are referenced in Hebrews 10. So there you have a lot of referencing back to Deuteronomy in these different writers, these writers of the New Testament. And for me, that is so significant, because we really do need to see the gospel in the book of the law. Sometimes we talk about the book of the law as if it's just all about legislation. No, it's not. It's about how we live our lives. What principles do we think are most important? And to see the good news that is there, the good news that Jesus came to show us. And if Jesus thinks Deuteronomy is important, what should that also say to us today? So I really want to emphasize that kind of idea as we look at this particular book in this specific study. So let's ask ourselves some of these questions. What does this continuity between the Old and the New Testaments teach us? How is the full Bible God's answer to the devil, not just in those temptations of Jesus, but in the great controversy? How is God answering the charges of the devil? How is he relating to these accusations that are made? How, in the way that Jesus responds to the temptations, are we to follow God's example in going back to saying these are the fundamental principles? Those are the fundamental principles by which God runs his universe. And as we think about all these issues that are around us, even being plagued here by mosquitoes, it's a result of our own sinful choices that have affected the world around us. You remember back there in Genesis, there is this result of Adam and Eve's choice to go away from God that mars all of God's creation. So as we think about those kinds of things, I pray that we will understand that as Jesus used the Old Testament, as we think back, that we don't dismiss it. You know, all too often people say, well, let's not worry about the Old Testament. There's a lot of stuff about the regulations and how to do sacrifices. And yes, that's true. But there are principles there by which we can live our lives. Let's not just abandon that. Let's see how Jesus saw the Old Testament and say, I want to do the same kind of thing. I want to follow what God has said and live my life in accordance with his principles, agreeing that right is right and wrong is wrong, and follow him because he's the only source of healing salvation.